Welcome to Infidelity Nest. In today's video, I'm going to share a story that began like countless ordinary days but ended up changing everything I believed about love, loyalty, and family. I grew up thinking my home was unshakable, a place where problems were small, arguments were temporary, and love always won. We weren't perfect, no family is, but we were close, stable, and connected in a way that made me feel safe. My father was the figure I admired the most. Strong, steady, the kind of man who made every decision with the confidence of someone who believed he was doing the right thing. My mother was the softness in our home, the warmth that held everyone together. She was laughter in the mornings, comfort in the evenings, and grace in every situation. Together they seemed unstoppable. Together, they were my definition of love. Or at least, that's what I believed. Nothing prepared me for the moment everything began to change. It started on an evening so normal that it didn't even feel real when the truth began to unravel. The air was ordinary, the house quiet, and everything looked exactly the same as it had the day before. But sometimes life hides its biggest storms inside the calmest nights. Sometimes betrayal walks in disguised as routine. I still remember the sound of my father's voice when he called my name that evening. There was something unusual in the way he said it, something heavy, something trembling beneath the surface. When I walked into the living room, my mother was sitting on the sofa with her hands tightly clasped, like she was holding on to something that might slip away if she loosened her grip. Her eyes were red, her expression drained. The silence in the room felt thick, almost suffocating. Even before anyone spoke, I knew something was wrong. But the truth, the real truth, was far worse than anything I could have imagined. My father looked at me with eyes that didn't look like his anymore. They were distant, shadowed, burdened by something he had carried far too long. His words came slowly, painfully, as if each one cost him something. He said he needed me to do something. Something he believed my mother no longer had the strength to do. At first I didn't understand. His voice didn't match his expression. His tone was calm, but his eyes held fear. My mother didn't say a word, she just watched him with silent tears rolling down her cheeks. I felt the ground shift beneath me. My father's request, when he finally explained it, didn't feel like a request at all. It felt like a demand, an ultimatum that forced me to choose between loyalty to him and the values he once taught me to live by. I refused. And my refusal was the moment everything began to fall apart. From that night forward, the house changed. The energy changed. The people we were changed. My parents stopped acting like a team. My father became secretive, distant, always on edge. My mother slowly withdrew into silence, carrying a pain she didn't know how to share. I tried to understand what had pushed them into this darkness, but every time I approached the truth, it slipped away like smoke in my hands. As the days passed, small things caught my attention. My father leaving the house at odd hours. His phone lighting up with unknown numbers. Late night calls that instantly stopped when I walked into the room. Whispered arguments that ended the moment I stepped too close. Even his scent changed. He came home smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't my mother's. I wanted to deny what seemed obvious, but denial only works when your heart is stronger than your suspicion. Mine was not. Family dinners became awkward rehearsals of forced smiles and bottled emotions. Every clink of a fork sounded like tension hitting the surface. My younger sister didn't understand what was happening. She asked if everything was okay, but no one answered her. No one knew how to explain something we didn't fully understand ourselves. One evening, I heard my parents talking in hushed but sharp tones. My mother's voice cracked as she said she couldn't continue living with the secret. My father begged her to stay silent because he believed telling the truth would destroy us. Those words rattled inside my mind. Destroy us. What could be so devastating that silence felt safer than honesty? Eventually, I realized I needed answers. So one night, when my father left for what he claimed was a late meeting, I followed him. I stayed far enough away not to be seen, but close enough to know the truth. He drove across town to a restaurant I had never seen before. A woman stood waiting at the entrance. When she saw him, she smiled with a kind of familiarity I had never seen from any stranger. He smiled back. They walked inside together. That image carved itself into my memory, a silent, Undeniable truth, when I returned home, everything felt wrong. My father came in hours later, acting like nothing unusual had happened. But something inside me had broken. I couldn't say anything, not yet. I wasn't ready to see the rest of my world crumble. A few days later, everything exploded. My mother found an envelope hidden inside his briefcase. When she opened it, whatever she saw pulled the color from her face. Letters, photos, documents, proof. My father tried to explain, but his voice cracked, and the certainty he once carried was gone. My mother demanded answers. My sister and I stood frozen, witnessing the collapse of the family we thought was invincible. Then came the sentence that changed everything. A woman had written to him, claiming he had a child with her. My mother shattered. My own breath disappeared. My sister cried. The silence afterward felt louder than any scream could ever be, but the truth didn't end there. It went deeper, darker, and more complicated than any of us expected. As the tension grew, I overheard another conversation a few nights later, one that suggested this wasn't just about infidelity. My father wasn't only afraid of losing us.
He was afraid of being exposed.
The woman he had been meeting wasn't simply a secret lover. There was something bigger, something dangerous tied to her and the child. Something he thought he could handle on his own. Everything reached its peak on a stormy night, when the wind howled against the windows and thunder echoed like the sky itself was breaking apart. My father stood in the living room, ready to face everything he had avoided for years. My mother stood across from him, exhausted from weeks of crying. My sister clung to her arm. I stood nearby, my heart pounding. He finally admitted the truth. Yes, there was a child. But then he revealed something none of us expected. He pulled out another envelope, filled with documents. The child wasn't biologically his. He had been helping the woman because she was running from someone dangerous. The child's real father posed a threat, and my father stepped in to protect them both. He kept it secret because he believed knowing the truth would put us in danger. He thought he was protecting us by hiding everything, but secrets, even when kept for love, can still break hearts. That night, as the storm slowly faded, the truth settled over our home like morning fog, soft, heavy, impossible to ignore. My father apologized with a sincerity I had never seen in him. My mother listened, torn between anger, confusion, and heartbreak. Trust had been broken, but the truth had finally surfaced.